Back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins. Glad to have you along on this Wednesday. It's time for the Daily Sidebar. Day 7 of jury selection kicked off with questioning of the already seated jurors in this case. The defense had argued that the news that $27 million lawsuit could impact the jurors that were selected before the news came out. And they were told, don't read anything, don't look at anything. But the defense said, you know what, Judge, we better bring them in. Let's just bring them in and see if they've heard anything. Well, when questioned this morning, 2 of the 7 jurors revealed that indeed, yes, it had impacted their ability to be fair going forward. I want to bring in my colleagues. Now, we have Julia Janae, Julie Grant, and Michael Ayala. Let's start with number 36. This was the Hispanic male. He was a route driver, and he was part of this jury. He said he'd seen the video a couple times. He likes crime podcasts he listens to during his job. But he thought he could follow the law even though he disagrees with it. Now, he says, after getting that news that the city settled for $27 million, he said, sorry, I just can't do this. I cannot be impartial. Let's take a listen.
Can you tell me what you heard?
About the settlement.
Okay, and what do you remember any specifics about it?
I mean, the quantity, it was a large amount of money.
Okay. Do you remember a specific amount or just that it was a large amount?
20, over 20 maybe.
Okay. How do you think that would affect your ability to be impartial in this case?
It will impact it a lot.
It will impact you a lot? Tell me about that.
So last time I was asked about my strong opinions against Chauvin. Clearly the city of Minneapolis has some strong opinions as well. And this just kind of confirms my opinions that I already had.
Okay. It is a separate case. Different parties, different legal issues won't be part of the evidence in this case, but we understand you were, and I'm sure you were inadvertently exposed. You didn't seek it out. We did accept you as a juror, but do you think now with this new information it would be hard to presume the defendant innocent, would hard to be impartial in this case?
I think it will be hard to.
And he would say, yes, it would be hard, and boom, he was gone. Julia, this was fears confirmed, right, by Eric Nelson. This is exactly what I thought, and this was one of the first to be questioned. You're in Minneapolis. How pervasive, I mean, it seems it was pervasive everywhere. I don't know how you couldn't have seen this news of the $27 million.
We heard so many people today giving different ways that they noticed this news, from the radio being on when they were going into the gym to a headline on Instagram, or someone mentioned that his wife or fiance told him, don't look at the news because it's everywhere. So that just shows how pervasive it was, and especially here in Minneapolis, it's not just something that was on a headline. You could hear people talking about it in conversation because this hits home for here, because this is a settlement coming out of the city of Minneapolis, taxpayers here.
Yeah, and Julie and Michael, Julie, to you first. That was the first one. The other one was juror 20. He's a sales manager. He's a white male in his 30s, father. He had a negative opinion when he saw the George Floyd video. He was concerned that he would miss his wedding. This was the guy that had that wedding on May 1st. And then this morning, he said that it was just too much. It was just too much money. He believes that that $27 million settlement, knowing about it, would sway his opinion.
What effect, if any, do you think this might have on your ability to be impartial? When we accepted you as a juror, did it move you one direction or the other?
I would say especially that dollar amount was kind of shocking to me. That kind of sent a message that the city of Minneapolis felt that something was wrong, and they wanted to make it right to the tune of that dollar amount. I think in the headline, if it would have said $2,000 versus $20 million, that's a big change. So I think that sticker price obviously shocked me and kind of swayed me a little bit, yes.
Okay, and so you think it's I think you left the courtroom, everyone satisfied you could be fair and impartial. Do you think that viewing that headline has maybe moved you, kind of now that you know that that's the city of Minneapolis opinion? Not that we, to be honest, not that we care about the city of Minneapolis opinion, but if it has an effect on you, we'd appreciate the honest answer. Does it move you off the fair and impartial position?
Yeah, I don't really know the answer to that. I guess the trial still has the right to play out, right? It hasn't even started yet. So there are definitely a lot of facts to be heard through the trial. Again, I'm just trying to share with you what I know. My gut reaction to that, again, with the dollar amount being high.
Sure.
And I've tried to leave it at that.
Julia, that answer, he had to go, right?
Right, Ted. You know, that answer, I'm sure many people feel the way he does too. I mean, you know, I'm sure he's not alone in feeling like that number is a wonderful number for the Floyd family. Thank goodness they're receiving such an enormous amount of money for the city to try to right this wrong. But people like juror number 20 can draw that reasonable inference that the city is saying, look, we're trying to right a wrong here, although we're not admitting liability with this settlement. One can jump to that conclusion to say, okay, look, to give out so much money to the family of George Floyd, they must think something was way wrong, and when facing a lawsuit and a challenge in civil court, they wanted to settle it ahead of time. So like I said the other day, I am thrilled that George Floyd's family is receiving that amount of money. The timing of the announcement is what is problematic, because now it's not only harmful to the defendant's right to a fair trial by an impartial jury, you know, of his peers. So that's one problem. But then two, think about with the Floyd family. Certainly they want to seek justice in the criminal court system as well. So the civil case has settled with this very large amount, a historic amount, $27 million. It marked a really a moment in time in our country. And then this criminal case is still going. How does this affect their quest for justice, too? I was chatting with my show producer, Emily Keene, about that this morning, and she made a great point. I wonder if they were consulted about the timing announcement. That's a really good question, if they knew this was going to come out then, and if anyone perhaps chatted with them about the ramifications of this jury selection now.
Yeah, well, they were obviously apprised of the timing because they're all there at the press conference, but were they counseled as to the potential issues with the criminal trial?
Right.
That's a good point. Michael, your take on all of this?
Well, you know, I wasn't really surprised that we had two. I thought there wouldn't be that many. I'm still struggling with this idea that folks can't sort of separate the idea that a civil trial and all that's going around surrounding this case is not really connected to the facts of the criminal trial. And I was actually really surprised that the judge didn't try a little harder to rehabilitate juror number 20. You saw him do something a little more in depth with other jurors, where he would even go so far as to say, hey, you know that I know you know about this, but you know it's a different set of facts, different parties, that some of the decisions in a civil case can involve political matters as well. He didn't go that far on number 20. I was a little surprised by that because he seemed equivocal. He seemed like it was something that had caught his attention. The amount was large, and it was certainly sticker shock, as he said it. But it didn't sound to me like he couldn't be rehabilitated, or someone that wouldn't understand that while that's out there, that number is large, but there's a reason it's large. There are political reasons behind it. Has no bearing on this case. And so I wasn't too surprised that there were only two. I thought there would be less, to be honest.
Yeah, and 44 was right on the edge there, too, and he was able, Judge Cahill, to bring her back.
Exactly, and he worked hard to bring her back.
Yeah, and you could look at that two ways. That may come back to haunt when this thing is appealed. A lot of people are going to be involved. Whoever has this job as the appellate lawyer, it's not going to be one of those, well, what should we do here? There's going to be a million choices if it gets
An
to
embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, if it gets to that point. Julia, where are we now? The pool is not the problem, right? There's literally hundreds of potential jurors here. It's just a matter of the painstaking reality where we're at. And at this point, the defense doesn't have very many strikes left. They're down to 3. At this point, Judge Cahill said no to more strikes in his earlier ruling, but is there any indication that that could change given the fact that they've lost 2 jurors?
You know, it hasn't been raised in court yet as to whether or not there's going to be a request by either side for more strikes now that we stand in a different position than we did at the beginning of the day. But it's certainly a possibility. Things have been fluid. The judge has been great about hearing the different arguments from both sides when they raise these issues and taking it just case by case when they come up. So this is new territory, having jurors that are now excused after already being seated. So I know that it's a possibility that that could get raised. We're talking about it, so we know the defense is talking about it. They are down to only 3 strikes left, and the state has 4 strikes left. So right now, jury selection still continues with more jurors, and they have plenty to go through, but timing is also of the essence because we have a week and a half left. And we've already gotten through a week and a half, and we're only at half of the number of jurors we need.
Michael, Julie, yes or no's, should both parties possibly get more strikes? Michael, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think clearly the defense has been burdened with so many issues, and this announcement of the settlement only sort of highlights all the issues that they've been confronted with. Now you lose 2 more jurors, and so they have to go back and pick 2 more. I think they should have definitely, the judge should give them consideration. If not, give them more leeway, which I think he's already said he's going to do, and be more willing to excuse folks for cause. But he didn't do that this morning, so I thought there was an opportunity for him to show a little deference there. He did not do it, so he's not going to do that. I think the defense definitely deserves a few more peremptory strikes, which if you do that, you have to give a couple more to the prosecution as well.
Yes or no, Julie, more strikes?
Yes, absolutely. I think that will help cure this problem. And I think it's one of those issues, Ted, with trying to get the fair and impartial jury seated in this case. I think the biggest struggle for Judge Cahill is how to cure this problem. Now, we have so many different factors with the leaking of the plea negotiations. That was one huge problem, and I'm curious where that investigation stands today, if they found out the source of that. And then now the announcement of the civil settlement coming right as jury selection is underway. That poses another problem. So he has a weighty decision to make before Friday. I know you know this, and I would not be shocked if there is a continuance, because at least that would provide a little more time to try to come up with a cure. And in the meantime, there should be more strikes to help cure things.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. You're right. He's got a lot to think about. It seems like there should be some sort of remedy given the situation. We're going to step aside and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, oh, what a morning. 76. This was one of the most interesting people we've heard during this process by far. His honesty, and the rest of it will unravel it all when we return. Stay with us.